Alright, I guess we'll get going. So, today it's my job to go over the basics of spey casting and how to create a good spey cast. I'm gonna start from the basics, and I'm gonna go through a bunch of different casts, and I'm gonna show you, proper anchor placement and forming a D-loop, lining your D-loop up, and all the aspects that you need to know to make it all happen. Let's start off with just basic stance and grip. It's very important when you're spey casting to face where you're casting. So right now, for a lot of my demonstration, I'm going to be facing downstream, so I'm going to try and face this way. There's going to be times today when I don't exactly face where I'm casting because I'm going to be talking to you, but get in the habit, if I'm going to cast this way, to stand square. I see a lot of guys standing this way and they're trying to cast this way, or they're standing this way and they're trying to cast that way. It makes it very awkward, so make sure you face your target. In terms of gripping the rod, what I like to do is a good thing to do for beginners is just basically dangle your arms at your side. Where you can grab the rod is usually comfortable. This is a small spey rod. It's called a switch rod. It's 11-foot 9-inch rod. It's got a very short cork. So here I'm on the top of the cork. If I had a longer cork, I like a higher grip. I will grip the rod higher. But a good thing to do, if let's say I had a longer cork, if I grab at the top of the cork and I can't get the rod tip down, I'm gripping too high. You want to bring your hand back until the rod tip comes down. Then you know for sure you're in a good spot to grip the rod. So always make sure you got your hand position right on the rod. If you're too stretched, you'll tend to lock this elbow, and you definitely don't want to lock your elbow. You want to be relaxed and fluid in the elbow. So that's your grip, thumb on top. And what I like to do with the backhand, I see a lot of guys have a tendency to grip the rod too much and too hard. To get out of gripping the rod hard, a good thing to do is just close the back 2 fingers and use these 3 fingers to cradle the rod. I actually only really use those, like that. So it's like a ball and joint. And then that allows these fingers for line control down the road as you start to shoot more line. So that is our basic stance and grip. Face our target. You can put your opposite foot forward. I'm casting righty right now, so I'm going to put my left foot forward. I'm going to close these 2 fingers, grip the rod here and here. That's a good starting position. So when we're starting a spey cast, I'm going to start with a roll cast, because a roll cast is really the basic start to a spey cast. Okay, I'm going to do a quick roll cast, and I'm going to do what's called a switch cast, which is just an inline spey cast. A roll cast, a good roll cast, all you want to do is just drag the rod back level, elevate the rod, and this is a very key thing that we're going to talk about today, and that is the firing position. That is the position from which you're going to make your forward stroke. Understanding this position is really key to making good casts. If you understand that position, it sets you up to go forward. If you don't understand this position and you're not coming into this position prior to you going forward, you're going to have a hard time. And this position, what we're doing, we're dragging the rod, we're stopping here, and I'm going to talk about, that's going to be our stop point for all our spey casts if I'm casting this way. If I'm casting this way, that stop point would be here. Okay, and we'll talk about that in more detail. So I'm dragging the rod back to this position, and then I'm elevating both hands and I'm rotating the rod back slightly, making sure that this hand does not get outside my elbow. If I draw a line off my elbow, that rod butt is inside that line. If it's outside that line, you've over-rotated your rod. That is good. That is bad. Okay, so you want to make sure that when we come back, watch what happens. If I come back like this and I elevate, classic over-rotation on your spey cast. That's gonna make for an ugly loop going forward. If you come back here, stop, elevate the rod there. You can see the rod is way outside here. The rod tip should never be behind your head. It's just like a single-handed rod. If I did a single-handed cast, and very often with a single-handed rod, it's breaking the wrist. If I came back and I broke my wrist like that, classic over-rotation. You want to make sure you stop the rod right there. Back to our same point at which we stopped for a roll cast. Right there. That's our firing position. So you're always stopping short of your firing position. That is where I want to stop. That's where I want to fire from. So, roll cast, back, elevate, roll. Okay, and we're accelerating going forward. On a roll cast, it's stagnant going back, and it's accelerating going forward. On a Spey cast, it's accelerating back and forward. And the difference between that roll cast and that Spey cast is I've induced energy into the cast. I've got my D-loop further back, and I've got my anchor further back. So my anchor's here now, okay, and I'll talk about what the anchor is for those of you that don't know. And the D-loop is further back. So the anchor, let's go back to that roll cast. The anchor is this line laying in the water. That's what allows the line to load the rod. It grips the water so that this here, this is called your D-loop, this can load the rod. In a roll cast, we have a lot of anchor and a very small D-loop. So yes, it works, but it's not efficient like a Spey cast. And a roll cast is only good for one direction. It's very hard to change direction with a roll cast. If I wanted to cast towards you guys and I wanted to do a roll cast, again, a roll cast has no energy going back. I come up like this. When I go forward, that line's going to cross itself. Whereas if I did a Spey cast, okay, I can cast that direction if the trees weren't in my way.